Let's make a plant-based blueberry crumble bars that are both gluten-free and refined sugar-free. Welcome back to the Whole Food Plant-Based Cooking Show, where we make plant-based cooking easy. I'm Jill, and we are going to make these delicious blueberry crumble bars, and you're just going to love them. This happens to be the #2 winner of the vote from this month from our supporting members. The other vote, the winning vote, was a creamy vegetable casserole. I just haven't got that one quite figured out yet, so I'm making this one first. So here you go, supporting members. First, we're going to start with the crust. So you're going to need a 9x9 brownie pan, which I've already lined with parchment paper. We're going to start with our oats. This is 1.5 cups of oats, which we're just going to lightly grind into a flour to get started. Okay, just a simple grind, because you don't really want it to be super fine. We want it to still look kind of crumbly. So what we're going to add to that are our pitted dates. I've got a cup of pitted dates, and we're going to blend those together so that they kind of crumble together and kind of clump a little bit, which again, the same thing, it only takes just a few seconds. If you have just a regular blender or a smaller NutriBullet, you might have to shake it a little bit or scrape down the sides a little bit just to get it all uniform. Okay, just like that. I'm going to toss this in our bowl. Set this over here for a minute. And then I have a cup of almond flour. I'm going to mix in there. So we're going to do all of our dry ingredients first. Then this is 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda and 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder. And 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. All right, so we're just going to stir this together just so that we don't have any like baking soda clumps or baking powder clumps. And my oven is already preheated to 350 degrees. Okay, for the next step, I have a 1/4 cup of water and a teaspoon of vanilla, which we're just going to pour into there. And then I'm going to use my pastry cutter, but you could just cut it in with a fork or even just a spoon. We just kind of want it to start clumping together because we're going to press this into the bottom of our brownie pan. And I'm going to use my spoon because I think it's just quicker too. This works okay, but I'm going to use my spoon just to show you. You just keep cutting it in until you feel like it starts sticking together. And if it's not sticking together, if it's still a little bit too dry and crumbly, all you do is just add, maybe a tablespoon of water at a time, which I'm going to do that too, just so I can get it to the right consistency. Sometimes, dates are all different, whatever kind of dates you're using. Some are drier than others, so you might need a little bit more of just liquid. Okay, use just a little bit more. There we go. Now we're looking perfect. Okay. All right, now I'm going to grab my pan here. And if you've been with me for a while, you've been with the show for a while, you see that this parchment paper is all kind of crumply. That is an easier way to get your parchment paper to settle down into your pan, so it's easier to work with. If you crumple it up, it's easier to kind of mold into the sides, and then you don't have to cut it. All right, so I'm going to use about 3/4 of this. We're going to pour it into the bottom of the pan. You want to leave just a 1/4 of it in the bowl because that's what's going to be the topping. Okay. Set it aside. And this part you just do by hand. You're just going to press it really nice and tight into the bottom of the pan, because that's also what's going to get it to really stick together. The top doesn't matter if it's crumbly, but that bottom kind of needs to stick together just a little bit better. And if it's sticking to your hands, you can always put just a little bit of water on your hands and press it down. All right, there we go. All right, I'm just gonna set this aside, and I'm gonna grab my blueberry mixture and ingredients, and I'll show you how to do that delicious filling. Okay, now onto this delicious filling. So I have 2½ cups of blueberries. These are the wild blueberries. I happen to like them way better. I think they have more flavor, and they're frozen. We're gonna put about a ½ cup of those in to our blender. Reserve the other one for just a second. Then I have a cup of dates. Goes in the blender too. 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. 1 tablespoon of arrowroot powder. And if you don't have arrowroot powder, you could use tapioca starch or cornstarch. And a ½ cup of water. We're just gonna blend this up until it's, you know, the dates are pretty pulverized. Okay, there we go. Now we're just gonna add all of this to a saucepan because we need to thicken it just a little bit. If we just put this right on top of that crust, it would just soak down into the crust and it would just kind of become a big pile of mushy blueberry bars. All right, then we're gonna add our 2 cups of blueberries that are left. And we're just gonna cook this on medium-high until it thickens a bit. So it's gonna resemble kind of a, you know, kind of a pudding-ish kind of texture. And we're trying to get the blueberries, because I didn't thaw out my blueberries. This is such a quick and easy recipe. You don't need to pre-thaw or defrost your blueberries. So while you're cooking this, the juice from that blueberries is gonna come out a little bit, so we need to thicken it for just a few minutes. While we're waiting for that, I'd like to share some background on our show. The Whole Food Plant-Based Cooking Show is crowd-funded, which means these free weekly recipe videos, along with our entire catalog of free printable recipes on our website, plantbasedcookingshow.com, and our Plant-Based Cooking Made Easy cookbook series, are all made possible in part by the generous patronage of our supporting membership community. So if you love our recipes, I invite you to join us on our mission to make plant-based cooking easy, and follow the link in the description to become a supporting member today. There's no denying the plant-based diet is a nutrient powerhouse, but did you know there are a handful of hard-to-get nutrients even well-crafted diets are often lacking? The latest research suggests that complementing your diet with a few specific vitamins, minerals, and omega-3s will help boost your energy and keep you thriving for the long term. That's why my daily health routine includes Complement Essential. Complement Essential contains the 8 critical nutrients lacking from most plant-based diets in dosages optimized specifically for us. Plus, Complement is completely transparent about ingredient sourcing and third-party testing, publishing the results directly on their website. As a special discount for our viewers, just use code PLANTBASEDEASY at checkout to save 15% off of your order. All right, this blueberry mixture is done. If you want to come in and take a look, it's just thick enough. All right, so into the pan it goes. You're just going to pour all of that right into the base of the crust. Okay, oops. Then you're going to spread it around a little bit, just so it gets all the way out to the edges. Okay. Now we're going to do the remaining crumble part. So this part you can just do with your hands, really. You kind of want to, you know, you can kind of stick it together just a little bit more, just so you get some nice clumps in there. And then you're just going to kind of sprinkle it on the top. You don't want the whole thing covered because you want to see those beautiful blueberries kind of peeking through. So I kind of just mound it in different little areas. All right, And I don't want it completely covered, so I'm gonna leave a little bit of this crust or this crumble. But you know what? That would be really delicious on your morning oatmeal. So you can kind of save that. So our oven is still on 350, and we're gonna stick that in for 30 minutes. Okay guys, it is out of the oven. Come on and take a look. Oh, this smells amazing. So I'm gonna let this cool for a bit, and then I'll meet you at the table for a taste. All right, it is time to go in for a taste. Just a tip on these are really better if you put them in the refrigerator overnight and let them firm up. I just can't wait, I've gotta show you. So these are really soft right now, so I'm gonna have to eat them with a fork. Cut a little slice out of here. Oh. Ah. Look at that. Oh, it's so juicy. You can just see all those beautiful little blueberries. Mmm. Oh, yum. The blueberries, by adding that a little bit of lemon juice in there, it makes them so tart. And then you get the sweetness from the crumble. Mmm. So good. You're gonna love it. Come on back next week for another great recipe.